Krishna. Everyone, welcome to the today's session. As of now, total 17 participants have logged in. So we will begin the session now. So we will start the session with the invocation prayers. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशकारिणे मम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासुदेव गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। वेलकम एवरीवन। So let us start the today's session. So today's session is a topic on the real potential of cow's milk. Last few sessions, like we had we learned the functions of farmers, understanding the farm as an ecosystem, and functions of plants, and functions of landscape, all these topics. Now today we will see how the livestock actually works on the land, and today we will also learn what is that actually that much potential is there in the middle. So what is that potential? So let us begin the session now. So Hare Krishna. Sri Kumar Prabhu, shall I start this session?
Yeah, that video will be playing now.
Yes. So today we have a special message sent by His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Swami Maharaj for all of us. He encouraged us to take up this holistic management. So I'm just sharing the video. It's only a 9 minutes video. Please watch. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I'm very happy that a course on holistic management is being organized by the ISKCON Daivi Varnashrama Ministry. When the word holistic management is used in modern language, we think of corporate management, because that's how the term is usually employed, management. Or we think of all sorts of administration of organizations and so on. But here the term holistic is very important, because it indicates that there must be harmony with the world around us for that management to be complete and perfect. Where management essentially means dealing with resources. And what are these resources? The resources are basically those that are provided to us by nature. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in his purport to a verse in Queen Kunti's prayers, Srila Prabhupada mentions that human prosperity flourishes by the gifts of nature and not by gigantic industrial enterprises. So it means that Krishna has given us these resources of nature as gifts to us, and we must learn how to utilize them. When these gifts are misutilized and we try to manage the world and manage our life, manage our society, manage nature, without knowing how to utilize those resources properly, then that causes havoc. In Bhagavad Gita, such mismanagement is called Ugra Karma, because the driving force behind such mismanagement is greed, it is materialism, it is sense gratification, it is godlessness, etc. But the word holistic implies that we must see the world and everything within it in connection to the creator of the world, Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna is the origin, the sustenance, and the destruction of the world. All the arrangements and plans that he has made in this world are meant for us to make advancement in spiritual life. But in the course of pursuing our spiritual life, we cannot ignore the material life. We have a material body to feed, to rest, to take care of. We have to survive happily here. And for such happy survival, we need to utilize the resources and gifts of nature provided by Krishna very holistically. Srila Prabhupada mentions at one place that if you have Krishna, the cows and land, then everything is complete. All the economics, politics, sociology, and agriculture and health, everything is taken care of by just these three. And then we can make advancement in spiritual life and make our human life perfect. So utilizing the land properly, utilizing the cows properly, utilizing the products of the land and the products of the cow properly, and understanding what it means to serve Krishna in all his manifestations, not only in his manifestations as the holy name, as the dham, as his pastimes, his names, his forms, etc., but also in the terms, or also in respect of his material energy. And Srila Prabhupada explains that when we utilize the material energy in the service of Krishna, it becomes spiritualized. It no longer remains material. So there are people who are using the land for their selfish purposes, materialistic purposes. Then matter ceases to be divine as far as they are concerned. Similarly, they misuse the cows. They draw milk in a demoniac fashion from them by exploiting the cows and then eventually kill them. That also represents godlessness. Where is the divinity that can be seen when such activities go on? So, however, if we see land and cows from the perspective of Krishna, then everything becomes perfect. Krishna is Gopal, the tender of the cows. He is Govinda, the one who gives pleasure to the cows. He lived in Gokul, Vrindavan, which is the residence of the cows. He frequently went to Govardhan for his pastimes with the cowherd boys, with the gopis, with the cows and the calves. Govardhan means that which causes the cows to flourish, Go and Vardhan. So all the pastimes of Krishna are centered around the cows in Vrindavan. And he demonstrated by his personal example how to do holistic management. He did not destroy the environment. He also moved from one forest to another forest and then another forest every day, taking the cows to graze because there was ample grazing land, pasture land. So there was no economic problem in looking after a large number of cows. Nanda Maharaj had 900,000 cows. And then the cows, because they were so happy, being looked after with so much love by Krishna and the other Vrajavasis, they gave profuse quantities of milk. And in this way, the economy of Vrindavan flourished. There was no shortage. And the Vrajavasis had large, abundant supplies of milk and butter and ghee and yogurt and so on, which they traded with other merchants to get their other requirements, whatever it is that they needed, be it cloth or jewels or anything else. So therefore, seeing these three, Krishna, land and the cows together, and trying to manage our life, manage the world, manage nature, from that point of view, can indeed be called holistic management. Today we see that the land is simply seen as an object of exploitation. Similarly, the cows also are seen as an object of exploitation, as a machine to give milk. The cow is not merely a machine to give milk, We must certainly take milk from the cows, provided we look after the cow nicely, with love, with devotion. And before we drink the milk of the cow, we should ensure that the calf of the cow is fed properly to its full satisfaction. It is only the remaining milk that we as human beings should drink. Not everything that the cow produces is meant for humans. The first claimant to the milk of the cow is her own calf. Only after the calf has drunk, then, yes, we may drink. So this is a very, very important point. And even people who run dairy industries, and even unfortunately our villagers in India today, have lost sight of this. They mistreat the bullocks, they mistreat the cows, they separate the calves from the cow from the mother. So this cannot be called holistic management. So especially in India and all over the world, of course, it is very important that we revive the principles of holistic management as taught by Lord Krishna by his personal example and as demonstrated in the various aspects of the Vedic culture, in the scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam, and also as applied in the modern day context by many, many intelligent devotees who understand how to apply these sublime principles according to time, place, and circumstance. So I'm very happy that the ISKCON Daiva Varnashrama Ministry has organized this seminar every Saturday and Sunday for several weeks. My heartfelt congratulations and best wishes to the devotees who have organized it, and the devotees who are speaking in it, giving classes, and also the devotees who are participating in this. And I would end with a request to all the devotees who are participating that you may kindly go in whichever place you stay, spread this message to everybody. And I'm sure that this endeavor will draw the mercy of Lord Krishna. Srila Prabhupada very much wanted such farm communities to be set up. He wanted the cows to be protected, the land to be utilized properly in the service of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada will be very pleased and Krishna will be very pleased. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj. We from ISKCON Daiva Varnashrama Ministry and from all our participants, from all our speakers, we thank His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj for the wonderful, encouraging message. Thank you very much. So now, immediately, quickly, I will share the mic with Dr. Sri Kumar Prabhu and Dr. Sri Kalamataji. I think today's topic is given by Sri Kalamataji Prabhu. Prabhu, it's mute.
Because there is a power shortage there. That's what.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Prabhu. Please go on, Prabhu. Please take up. Hare Krishna.
Share screen.
Yes.
Please share.
Yeah, 1 minute. Yes.
Hare Krishna to all. Welcome back after 1 week. Hope you are all remembering what we had in the past 4 sessions, because it is a continuum. And finally, when we end tomorrow, all that we had studied in the first 2 pillars will be has to be remembered, because whatever we are going to learn today has got connection to whatever we learned in the past 4 classes. So today's topic is the real function. Today we studied what is the potential, what is the function of a farmer. The second day we studied what is the function of the plants. Third day we studied the function, what is the function of the landscape. And today we are going to study the function of council. So as we need a context, we know the context of the presentation, or the context why we are having this. We want stable families. You know what is written, and all this can happen only, all to be ensured for many generations to come, on a foundation of ethical and human behavior to all life. All life means we are also in that life as a human being. Regenerating soil, biologically diverse communities on Earth's land and in rivers, lakes, and oceans. So that is our context. And the paradigm on which we take decisions will be the Om Purnamadam Purnamidam, as you all know. And in this, the highlights of this Vedic paradigm is that it is syntropic. That is, the more you grow, the more the population increases. Actually, the fertility and the resource should increase. That is how the Vedic paradigm is. Increasing population doesn't deplete the resources of the ecosystem. The very important thing in this is the resources needed are available at the site. No need for any more invention. It is there. It's already there. No difference between a farm and the farmer, as we are a being in the farm. There are no parts in nature. The whole is more than the sum of the parts. So it is based on this paradigm that all the decisions that we take, or all the decisions we take in the farm that we are going to manage, this is the paradigm that will be influencing all our decisions. And as you know, we need to be a human being, not a human doing. Human doing, as we have understood, is when we are managing the other species as everything for us. We are seeing only the utility of the other species. But when we are a human being, we are a being and we are actually performing our function. And it is actually a collection of functions. That is what is there. So now only when we function, there will be a functional, what you say, depletion, because we are not able to enjoy the other functions, only the utility we are doing. So in holistic management, or when we are behaving as a human being, all decisions made simultaneously considers the well-being of all the other species. So now, what is the definition of milk? It is a fluid that is secreted by the mammary glands. All the mammals have a mammary gland, and that is the fluid that is secreted for a purpose for the nourishment of their young. A healthy mother will have sufficient milk for its baby. So that healthy she has to be healthy, disease-free, and well-fed. That is the bigger meaning for health. So she has to be fed good food, nourished, nutritious food, and only she can actually produce milk for its baby. There is no better food for any young mammal than its own mother's food. That also you know. And in this case, with the cows, the function of the udder is it's an organ designed to produce and offer a newborn calf easy access to its mother's milk. As soon as the calf is born, he or she needn't go for any university education. Immediately they get up and straight away proceed to the udder. That is how it is so well designed, and they know where to get the milk. Only when they are not they are diseased, they may not be able to. Otherwise, they come and start drinking the milk. So that is the function of the udder. Now I'm showing you the milk composition of various species. One is the buffalo, then the human, then the cow, the donkey, and the elephant. So the first column is the fat percent in the milk. The second is the protein percentage. Third is the lactose, that is lactose, the sugar in milk. Ash is the minerals in milk, and total solids. Total means the total of excluding the fat, whatever is there is that 21. Including the fat, how much of all together is there is the 21 points. So why I shared this is, according to the species, according to the requirement of the calf, the nutrients in the milk also vary. See, there is a tendency in India that the majority of the milk that you are able to purchase in India actually comes from the buffaloes, not from the cows. Majority is from the buffaloes. Why is it that people are rearing buffaloes? It is because of the fat percentage in the milk of buffalo. Why? The pricing of milk is based on the fat percentage. So to get more value to the milk, they prefer to grow buffaloes. Now, an additional issue is also there, because in the slaughter the ban, the ban is on only the cow, so the buffaloes, so now they do not want to end up in problems, so they are leaving the cows and start to rear the buffaloes. And the added advantage is that the fat percentage is more. So if they are producing 5 liters from the cow, if the price they get will be less compared to the price they will get if a buffalo is reared and they get 5 liters. So that is why buffalo milk is preferred. So but what I am trying to stress here is that increase in fat percentage is actually according to the requirement of the growth of the calf during the infant stages. Why is it that the fat percentage is more? Because this particular breed and the elephants, their children, their calves needs high percentage of the fat soluble vitamin A. So vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin, so it will be seen in the fat percentage of the milk. So that is why that these animals have a higher fat percentage. So that is the function of the fat percentage, why the buffaloes have it. But we are seeing it as an utility, and we are trying to take that milk and see it for fat. But actually, the fat percentage high level is not for us to make ghee, but for the nutritional requirement of the calf during its younger stages. And you can see the other percentage. So what the aim of this particular chart is to say that each species, according to the requirement of the younger, at their younger stages, the milk percentage also varies. As well as in the case of cow, as all of you know, that we have only one stomach. But cow also has only one stomach, but that stomach has 4 compartments. Why? There's a function for it. The last compartment of the stomach is more or less similar to that of ours. But the other 3, which comes before the last one, it is actually as a function to process the roughage. They are eating grass or straw, to process it and to make it in a form that the last stomach can take away the nutrients. So that is the function of the 4th stomach. But as far as a calf is concerned, up till 6 months, the growth of these 4 chambers happens. Initially, during the initial stages of their life, there will be only the last compartment function. The other 3 will be rudimentary, not functional. So what happens is, when the calf drinks the milk from the cow, that is, as you see on the right side, it is drinking, rightly sucking from it. So what happens is, immediately a groove is formed. It's called the esophageal groove. That groove directly bypasses the first 3 chambers, and the milk straight away goes to the last chamber. So that is how it is. But this happens only if the calf sucks the milk. In the modern rearing practices, if you go to even in the veterinary college, if you go to, you will see that the calves are fed in the fields. Their milk is taken and fed in buckets. But when they are feeding from the buckets, the groove will not be there, and there is chance for the milk to go to the first 3 compartments. When the milk goes to the first 3 compartments, which are not ready for digestion, this will lead to indigestion. And if you go to the Goshala or the calf shed of any universities, you cannot go there. It's very stinky. You cannot go there. So much bad smell is there, because why? They are fed in fields. But in the nature's design, when the calf drinks directly from the udder, only that groove will be there, and the milk straight away goes to the 4th chamber, and it is digested, and there will be accordingly the size of the calf also will improve. So, and as days pass by, slowly, as they get the culture from the mothers, the other 3 compartments also develop, and then that way they can start to eat grasses. By the 11th day, you can see that the calves start to eat little bit of grass as they follow their mothers. When whatever their mother eats, they will also start to eat. But their digestion is not perfect, because their major source of nutrients will be the milk only. See, with respect to human milk, this chart is told just to give you an idea. Drinks milk from her mother. Her average weight gain per day is just 25 to 30
Prabhuji, your voice is breaking.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, your voice is unable to hear. Could be because of the. Can you check whether it is muted? 1 minute. It's not muted. Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, we are not hearing, sir. Not audible.
What problem?
Yeah.
1 minute.
Prabhu, yeah. Prabhu,
minute,
can you
1
speak?
minute. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay.
Audible, sir. You are audible. You are
Okay. So I will repeat the same slide. That is a human baby when it drinks milk, it is growing only 25 to 30 grams per day. It's or her own mother's milk. That is the weight gain per day. But what is it that baby calf of a cow, how much will they grow? What is the growth potential of cow's milk? Or what is the daily weight gain of a calf that is drinking milk from its mother directly? The required quantity. It is. So what is the growth potential? What is the potential of the human milk? It is to grow the child to a particular stage. Same way, it is here also the potential of the cow's milk is to grow the calf to 10 times its birth weight in 9 to 10 months. Because it is at that age that they should attain puberty. Puberty means they should attain their sexual development. By 9 to 10 months, they should achieve. That is, in that case, they should be growing on an average of 1 kg, minimum of 1 kg per day. So the potential of the cow's milk, when the human milk, when a human baby attains puberty, it is only by 13 years. But for a calf to attain puberty, it is by 9 to 10, before 9 to 10 months. And it has to gain that from milk. And so the potential is that it has to reach this puberty in this time. So we should get at least 1 kg growth per day. This initial months, it will be even 2 kg. And as it progresses to 6-7 months, the growth rate will be little less. But on an average, it will be 1 kg. So the potential of cow's milk is to attain puberty. To attain puberty, it has to reach to 60 to 55 to 70% of the adult weight. And that is the time when they attain puberty. And this potential of cow's milk is to ensure a disease-free, healthy life for the cow. So it is a sad thing, then the next question will be, how much should the calf drink? That actually, in nature, we shouldn't discuss, but at least because since there's a problem here, we will discuss on it. So the average age of puberty for bovine is the cows. It can be any time from 7 to 18 months. 18 months is when you are feeding according to the university standards. But if you are feeding according to the Vedic standard, it can be 7 months. And if you are not feeding according to the Vedic or university standard, it can be 2 to 3 years. It can even be 5 years. So the university standards, if you feed, you can get to puberty by 18 months. But if you are feeding according to the Vedic standards or the humane standards as a human being, you can get the puberty by 7 months. So different species, the goat, the pigs, the horses, and the human beings, different species. That is the potential and the purpose or the function of the cow's milk in nature. So then what is the calf share? It is that quantity of milk which when consumed by the calf, it attains optimum growth. The optimum weight gain is more equal to or more than a kg per day. This is best achieved by a calf and healthy cow being together for minimum of 12 hours per day. It is not that they see each other, but they should be living together. That the cow and the calf should have free access. And the 12-hour also the calf will grow only if it is a healthy cow. What is a healthy cow? We will come to the remaining slides. But only then it is 12 hours. Otherwise, the calf should get free access, and the excess milk, actually, as even Maharaj told, is our share. Studies show that when the calf grows with the cow's production potential increases 10% more than their mother. This is how the breeding has to be planned. This is how the breed development happens. Now you can imagine if it is a male calf, that male calf which drank sufficient milk from the mother is having a potential to produce a female calf with 10% production more. And if it is a female calf, she has a potential of producing 10% more. So likewise, if you plan the breeding properly, you can improve the breed qualities hereby and the milk production. Same way, it is the opposite also. If this doesn't happen, that if you do not keep the cow and the calf together, every birth, the quality or the production capacity of the cows go down. That is how the Ongole has lost its production capacity. And now when they took it to the Brazil, and now they have developed it because they kept the cow and the calf together. That is the secret behind the breed development. Now what is happening is the calves are separated at the day of birth itself. This is in one farm, you can see. And you can see that on a basin, what the cow eats is kept there, and the calves are separated away from them. So it is, you can see, you see a hairy coat on their body, and that is a sign of undernourishment. So anytime you are getting an access to visit any Goshala, look at the cow. Before accepting the milk that they offer to you, you please look at the calf. If they are having a hairy coat, please understand that they are not in any way connected to their cow and they are not nourished by the milk. So please, in that case, you advise them to keep the cow and the calf together. And once if there is excess, it's your right, you can take it. So the message here is hairy skin is a sign of malnourishment, whether it is a cow or a calf. Cow, that means she is not fed sufficiently. If it is a calf, that means she is separated from her calf, from her mother. Sorry. So ethical or human milking practice, how is it that we can, as per our context, how can we do the milking is the unencumbered suckling of a calf on its own biological dam from birth to the age of 10 months. That is up to, we know no, the puberty age can be anywhere from 7 to 10 months. Once the puberty is attained, actually the cow can be weaned. So it is on an average taken up to 10 months, the calf should have free access with their mother. That is the best. And the excess milk only is milk. And that excess milk comes, as you will know in the coming slides, when does that excess milk come? So that is our share. And it produces this type, when they are kept with the cow, it produces the healthiest, strongest, and the most disease resistant and the most resilient cows for the future generations. So this is the ethical or human milking practice that we recommend. See, when this was practiced in many Goshalas, this is a picture before it was practiced, and you can see how they were kept. They were kept in the dung only, historically. And when they understood this particular Goshala introduced this practice of keeping the cow and the calf together. And you can see how the calves are, and see the next picture, how they transformed. They started to gain the weight up to 1.1 to 1.7 kg per day. And you can see as if their body is applied with oil, and their shed was improved, and they got bedding, and see how peaceful they are. Because they know that they will be connected with their cow. See, this is another comparison. That is in May 2014, the same calves. In July 2014, you can see the color change. The black one, the left extreme calf on the left side, that's the same calf you can see the second last on the right side. How the coat color changed and how puffy they became in just a few months. And this is one calf which was about 45 kg, and it was 4.5 months old. 4.5 months, if it is 1 kg per day, and if she was born with 25 kg, then she has to be somewhere in 140 kg by this 4.5 months. But when we connected the cow and the calf, she became like this in just 3 months. No other feeding except that we connected the cow and the calf. His name is Prahlad. It's a male calf. It's in Ahmedabad. This is are all deer calves. Below there are day-old to 6 months old calves there. And you can see the skin coat. All are rough and hairy skin coat. And you can see what they are fed, what the dry fodder that they are doing. And they didn't have the energy to look at the camera when we were taking the photos. That much weak they were. The same calves, when we introduced the system, you can see how they changed in 1 month. Just 1 month only they were kept together. And that too only for 12 hours, because they needed some milk. So that too, to just keep them for 12 hours, you can see in one. Now they all wanted to pose for the photo. They were energy and they were looking at us and they were happy. And now in that Goshala, you can see how it was when it was initially. Now the new calves that are born are fed milk, they are with their mothers, and they are fed sufficient grass. And you see, what is the skin coat now? We compare the skin coat previously of the calves that were born and the new generation of the calves that were born. And you see, all of them are looking at us. They are not afraid and they are looking at us. See the color difference. One is hairy coat and the skin coat. So next time you visit a Goshala, and when you go there, please look at the health of the calves. That gives if that farm is human doing or human being. And in an organic farm, the social life of the cows and the calves is given high priority. They have to live together with the cow, no separation. Being with the mother means more than just access to milk. It's not just many things that they learn from the cow. One of the major things that they get from the cow is you can see that the cow at times licks the calf's mouth, or the calf licks the cow's mouth. It is to get the culture for the development of women. So that is all important in that stage of development. We cannot just separate for just the utility of milk. So that is why it is told it means more than just access to milk. See, you in the South India there is the Malanad dwarf breed, it's a small breed, and the left the anyway it will be evident that the left one is the calf. It is only 10 months old. And see the mother. It has grown bigger than the mother. The mother, see the size of the mother. So naturally the question will be, maybe the bull is better. No, the bull is worse than the cow. That was the situation. But the bull and the cow never got the share of milk. But this calf, after they understood this, they kept the mother with the calf and see how she improved. This is a promising sign that the breed will improve in the coming generations. It is only because we disconnect the cow and the calf. And there is a lot to learn from the mother. An animal's mother has the greatest influence on the foods the animal chooses to eat and where it chooses to live. Once trained, animals will pass new behaviors on to their offspring automatically. But for this, they should graze with their mothers. Is it what is happening now in our goat Shaushalya? They are separated and they are fed whatever we feed to them. So that is needed. They have to be with their mother. The same way as we say, that the human children should be with their mothers. And what is now the breeding is, the utility is we want only the udder, the meat. So what has happened is the size of the udder is increasing proportionately the size of the body of the cow is moving. And as the year passes by, the nutritive value of the fodder that is fed is also going down. And so we see such a condition. And this is to show that the average lifespan of the cows in US or in the developed countries has come down to 3 years, maximum 1 lactation. It is not even going to the second lactation. They can't even stand. That is the situation where we are. Because we didn't look at the whole inch of the bread only for the udder. So when we breed the cows for more milk, what happens is their lifespan gets reduced, which is, the lifespan of the cow can be somewhere from 15 to 20, 25 years. It will go down to 3 to 4 years, maximum 5 years. Beyond that, you need a lot of medication to keep them. So they have to be in the ICU. Udder couldn't produce more milk, and so that leads to mastitis. Because of mastitis, the milk yield went down. They got infected with incurable diseases like TB, brucella, or this. See, more than 50% of the cows in India have TB or brucella or jaundice. That is the stage. Dairying became unprofitable for the producer. And culling flourish. That means if the cow is not giving the milk, okay, cull. So this is that is the unintended consequence of breeding them for more milk. But when we breed them for a healthy herd, the picture is different. We are seeing the whole, as Maharaj said. We are not just seeing the other. We are seeing the role of the cow in the ecosystem. In that case, you can ensure their lifespan, profitable dairy, a disease-free herd, and cow care will manifest. That is when that happens. So it is the way you see the cow. You are seeing her for the utility, the other unintended consequences. But when you see them for their function, this is how the development takes place. See, this is the inner structure of the udder. You can be left, right side, if you see, that is the inner structure of the udder. And from where the milk is produced, it is called the alveoli on top. That is the lobe. You see the lobe there, and inside that lobe, you have small glands called the alveoli. And that is the primary site from where the milk is produced. So, and then the milk is collected in tubes, and the tube connected, and finally it reaches the tank that is called the gland cistern, which each can hold about 400 ml, and in the teat also it can hold about 30 to 40 ml. That is how much it can hold at a time when it is full, and remaining is in the tubes that are there. As it is written there, milk is synthesized in special cells grouped in alveoli and then excreted outside the body through a duct system that functions like the tributaries of the river. That is how it is. So you can see how it joins, like the river, tributaries join and form this river. That is how it is. So here, a liter of milk is produced as 500 liters of blood passes through the mammary gland. So just to produce 1 liter. So you see around the alveoli that blood cells, you can see the blood vessels, arterial blood goes inside, the venous blood goes outside. And when 500 liters passes through the udder, only this much is there. So now what you need to understand from this is, once the tank is full, you start to drain. And this milk is not something that is produced at 4 o'clock in the morning and evening 4 o'clock. No, it is a continuous process. 24 hours it is being produced. And it has to be continuously drained also, and on a periodic basis. Then only the udder can be healthy. The same way as we pass urine or something. It is a continuous process, and it has to be continuously taken out and on a periodic way, the way the calf drinks. So when you don't do it, the pressure inside the udder increases. So between milkings, the accumulation of milk increases the pressure in the alveoli and slows down the rate of milking. So if you are milking every 2 hours, the milk is drained out every 2 hours, the milk production of the cow itself will be less. So more frequent removal of milk is a physiological necessity, at least 8 times a day, to reduce the pressure built up in the udder. If not done, it leads to the most painful disease of the udder called mastitis. It's a common thing. 40% of our cows have this problem. It is there. And that is clinical mastitis. Majority have subclinical. Subclinical means you don't have the inflammation, but the milk is full of pus. This is how the cow udder will look when it is having mastitis. It's a very painful condition. And the milk that comes out is also pus. It is the painful condition milking cows caused as a consequence of separating the calf from getting free access to the mother's milk. Because if there's free access there, it periodically drains it out. So then there is no chance of accumulation or any pressure building inside the udder. So now there is a brand of milk that is coming up that is called the Ahimsa milk. And the definition of the Ahimsa milk is it is slaughter-free and no cows or bulls were either killed or exploited to produce it. That sentence is very important. That means for the production of milk, they were neither killed, cows or bulls, nor exploited. That is the definition. Ahimsa or non-violence means that one should not do anything which put others into misery or confusion. Not just that you kill. Putting them into misery or confusion is also ahimsa. That is what Bhagavad Gita says. So, but you need to know what are the other exploitations that are happening for the production of this. Stall fed, that is, they are not grazed. They are separated from their mother, from their grazing land or their functions. And feeding them in Goshaushalas. That is, where you are feeding only, they pass to sleep. They sleep there, they dine there, everything is in the Shaushala. They are housed in Goshaushala. That is also exploitation. And the calves are separated from their mother to get the milk. And then impregnating a cow in milk. That is the cow that is now feeding, that is just delivered, just reached 3 months only. She is giving milk, and those cows are impregnated so that every year you get a calf. It is not physiologically possible for a mother to have a function as a three heart. It is three hriday. That is one for it has to feed the heart of the calf that is growing in the womb, then the calf that is bringing the milk and its own heart. It is not possible physiologically. So what happens is it affects the health of the mother, or it can lead to mastitis. And then the last one is castrating the bull. That is also for the production of milk, because you want only some selected bulls to breed. So others we don't want to castrate. All these are exploitation. So just by naming it ahimsa, it cannot become ahimsa. We have to follow certain standards. There is a process called weaning. That is when the cow has attained puberty, that is by 10 months. At that time, you separate the cow and the calf. Why? That is also in there. A bull calf that has attained puberty naturally will breed her, no? Or the other cows that are present. So that has to be separated. Number two, if the cow is not separated, the cow's condition will go down. So actually weaning is not to take the milk. The weaning is to stop the milking of cows so that she can recoup from the energy or the nutrients that she had given to the calf for its growth. Because she is losing her nutrients, no? And so weaning is accustomed to food. That is when to change the mother, so the calf, to other types of food other than the mother's milk. It's a natural process to replenish the health of the mother, because the calf has been given separated to the other source of food. But for the mother, she has to recover from her milking. That is why the weaning is there. And the time to wean is decided as per the health of the mother. More importance has to be given to the health of the mother. And we had discussed in the first class that the bitter expression, how Kali, in the Kali Yuga, how it is. Although in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 17th chapter, 3rd verse, it's told, although the cow is beneficial because one can draw religious principles from her, she was now rendered poor and helpless. So from this, so far you have understood the why she is being separated from her calf. It is to take the milk. And the same, the owner, she's beating, the uncivilized owner is beating her to draw the milk. And she's in tears because her calf is away. And also in tears because she is separated from her function of grazing. So what happens when you separate the calf? That also a Vedic quote is there. The milk that the cow gives in such a condition is poisonous, and it can lead to innumerable incurable diseases. That is the problem of drawing the milk without keeping the calf together or giving sufficient milk to the cow. That milk, it is a stress condition for the cow. So naturally, the stress hormones will be there. No, it is natural. No, in a stress condition, stress hormones. So stress hormones, if you take, it's a stress for us also. So that is how it becomes a poison. It is be filled with stress hormones. This is an important thing as per Ayurveda. Milk is said to have the best properties immediately after taking from the cow's milk. It's called Shidoshna Dud. Immediately, that warm milk, that is the best state. And you know, the calf is also getting that milk. That is Amrita. This milk, which is slightly warm, is especially good for bringing down the increased Vata. Thus, it is said that warm, fresh milk is equivalent to nectar. It can cure any disease, Amrita, if it is raw. And the cow also has to be healthy. That is the power of milk. If we are taking also after the calf has got, if you are taking, that's the milk that if you are expecting any quality or anything from that milk after the calf has taken, you have to drink it raw. Then only that benefits there. If you add any adjective to it, that is boiled milk or anything, it is not milk. It's an adjective milk. In Atharva Veda, there is a sloka which says, nature's elements, the sun. See, it is very important because you have completed the 4 courses, already the 4 sessions. That is what is meant told here. Nature's elements, the sun, atmospheric airs, and clouds. So what do you get from the sun? You know, photosynthesis. Atmospheric air means again the carbon dioxide, all the nutrients, the minerals, nitrogen, everything comes from there. And the clouds, you get the rain, along with the soil, are responsible for the excellent desirable qualities of milk. So just having a cow won't do. And keeping them in Shauchale, no. They have to be on the grazing land and on a regenerating grazing land, not on a degenerating grazing land. As the properly grazed, as you learned, when the 4 ecosystem processes are functioning on a grazing land, then only it is a regenerating grazing land. So if the cow is grazing on such a grazing land, then only it has the qualities of milk. And that too, it has to be drunk raw. If you look at the right side, there is a graph that is shown there. You know now what Brix is, because if you remember, the photosynthetic rate can be measured with Brix. We have discussed that. So in the y-axis, sorry, the x-axis, you see the Brix 1, 3, 5 as per this. And you can see the left side is the weight gain per day, average daily weight gain. See, as the Brix increases, the weight gain also increases for the cows and the calves. So it is related to the quality of fodder, that how much it can bring. And the quality which it was grown, that you understood, the cow and the calf are together, and you are giving her quality fodder. That is what brings milk. You can please listen to this video. This is on the benefits of drinking, being with the cow and drinking the milk. Please listen to this.
There is some technical issue with Shri Kumar Prabhu. So I request Dr. Shrikala Mataji to take on. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Can you able to share, or shall I share the PPT?
Please share the PPTs, Prabhu. I will explain.
Yes, Mataji. Yes. Okay. Just give me a minute.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
By Prabhu, Hare Krishna, everyone. We'll continue with the topic. Just by purchasing and consuming the processed milk, we may not be able to get the benefit when you are with the being with the cows is the essential part to get the benefit from the cows. Not only by purchasing and consuming milk, we cannot expect the health benefits we get when we are being with the cows. Next.
So this
And then-
video has to be played, Mataji?
Video, if it is able, if you are able
Cooperation
to
of
play, please play.
German, Swiss, and Austrian researchers, published in the Lancet 2001. And what we see here, cooperation of German, Swiss, and Austrian researchers.
Is it audible?
Published in the Lancet 2001. And what we see here is not only that in the dark, but we
Hare Krishna, is it audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Prabhu.
have, now we know in the ALEC study we saw that farming, yes, is protective for asthma and allergies, but we also saw two very, very important factors that have followed us ever since. It's the farm milk, the milk directly from the cow that the mothers give their children, and the contact to the stable. Because the kids get milk, farm milk very early, and they start helping in the stables very, very early. And we see here that if they had neither milk or stable exposure, the bars were the highest for asthma, hay fever, and on the right, it's a positive allergy test. If they had either milk or stable, the prevalence went down. And if they had both exposures, the prevalences were very, very low. So here we had our theme, our topic for the next 20 years of research almost. What's in the milk and what's in the stable? Why is it so protective? So in summary, now 20 years later, we can say that more than 40 studies have shown that growing up on a traditional farm will protect from asthma and allergies. And it's basically the cow shed or a cow stable and the milk. But as I said, we don't know what's in there. And this has been, we're still on our way looking for it. It's a puzzle that is hard to disentangle. Now,
Yeah. So shall I play the second video, Mataji?
It's okay, Prabhu. I'll explain.
Okay. So shall I skip this slide to the next?
Yes, yes, I'll explain this, what
Yes.
she said.
Okay. Okay, please go on. Yes, ma'am.
Being with the cow is very much important than just consuming. Now all the society people are trying to consume milk, and there may be explanation that the milk is farm fresh, but it will not give you the effect of being in the farm. She was explaining how the children were protected from asthma and allergies because they were with the cows, they were helping in the stable. That gave them the protection. Not only the mere consumption of milk can give you protection. That is what this video was explaining. Okay, we will go to the next slide. What we get now in the society is one among these pictures here we have shown. It can be a pasteurized toned milk. It can be a pasteurized standardized milk. It can be pasteurized toned homogenized milk. All these descriptions will be there, but it is not milk. It is a processed milk. And the processed milk can never give the result of that amrit, that milk coming from the udder, directly coming just soon after it is coming out, it should be consumed. Otherwise, you will not get any type of processed milk is harmful, and it will not give the expected result of the fresh raw milk from the udder. Next. So and one more thing, you should be very conscious about these points, that the milk you consume should be free from milk of pregnant cows. From the society you are purchasing milk, you may not be aware of the source of the milk. And if the milk is including pregnant cow's milk, what will be there? You will be consuming the hormones also, because the pregnant cow's milk will be containing so much of estrogen, progesterone, and all. Progesterone is a protective hormone for pregnancy. So the pregnant milk, cow's milk will contain progesterone, and that is, you can just Google what is the consequences of consuming hormones in milk, through milk. That is very harmful. And milk of cows in heat. Every 21 days, cows are coming into heat, and they will be milking the cow also. At that time also, they will be milking the cow, and that milk also will be containing increased amount of estrogen. So this time also, this will have an unintended consequence of the in the consumer. That is dangerous. And milk of diseased cows, even TB. Statistics shows that more than 40 to 50% of our dairy cows are affected with TB because of poor management. So diseased cow's milk is harmful to us. That toxins will be there in the milk, and we will be not by pasteurizing. We cannot eliminate these toxins, or we cannot make the cow healthy by pasteurizing or boiling the milk. So that bad effects will be carried to the consumer. And the calf share of milk, we have seen that what is the function of milk. The primary function of milk is to grow the calf. So if we are not allowing the calf to grow by consuming that milk, and if we are denying the calf its share, it is not ethical. So we should not consume the calf share of milk. That we can, in this, when we purchase milk, we can never ensure the that the calf share is given to the calf. So that is also a dangerous part of it. And the cow, when it delivers, within 21 days of delivery, the milk will contain many hormones. So even for offering to God, this milk is not allowed. In 21 days, we will not take the milk. The scientific reason behind this is that it will contain hormones, so we cannot consume. It is not consumable. But for economic reasons, this is not possible. Farmers will be milking the cow as early as possible, and that milk will be sold in the society. So it is very dangerous for the consumer, and we should ensure that the milk we consume is not of all this sort. And milk of underfed cows. Starved cows will have so much of stress hormones like adrenaline in their milk, and this will cause even the emotional and psychological problems for the consumers. So all these points should be ensured before simply going and purchasing and consuming the milk. Next slide. Next one, Prabhu. So in this two coming up slides, we are trying to explain what is the relationship or what is the consequence of separating a cow and the calf. Now, in the previous slide, we saw the consequence of milk that is from a deceased cow or underfed cow or calf share, everything. Now, in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can understand that this is the story of Trinavarta Leela. Maybe many people will be aware of it. That whirlwind came and it took away Krishna. And Yashoda was so much worried. She was not able to see Krishna. And her sorrow is compared to the sorrow of a cow that is not seeing its calf, or it has lost its calf. So when a calf is separated from the cow is feeling at its pain is so horrible that this when the mother Yashoda is separated from her son, that is from God itself, that pain or sorrow in her mind is compared to the separate sorrow of a cow that is separated from the calf. In 3 places, as far as we know, this sorrow has been compared. The sorrow of the God separated from her beloveds, his beloved, is compared to the sorrow of mother cow separated from its calf. This is one instant. And in next one, please, Prabhu, next slide. In Kaliya Leela, this is the Kaliya. Many will be knowing Kaliya. Krishna jumped into the river and he was not seen by the inmates of Vrindavana for some time. So all the people, from young one to old, all the people were so much sad and so much worried, and that their worry is also compared to the cow's worry, which when a calf is separated from her, she is thinking about her calf, poor helpless calf. She is so much worried about her young one. We are not thinking about how much sorrow is there in a cow which is separated from the calf. We are just separating and tying the cow here and calf there for our selfish purpose. So that sorrow, that pain in her heart is affecting the milk. And that milk, when consumed, it will affect our consciousness also. That is what we want to share with you. These are 2 instances in Srimad Bhagavatam. And when the God is separated from from his beloveds, and the sorrow is compared to the separation of the cow and the calf. Next one, please. See, the calves are making a hartal here. They are wandering in the road. Why? Because they have no use. When when milk is not there, they are useless. So they are thrown out, abandoned in the society, and we are not allowing them to perform their function of grazing, and labeling them useless or unproductive. Maybe they will be sent for culling, or they are abandoned just like that. So we are not, as a human being, our function is to allow their function also to happen. That is not happening here. It is inhumane or unethical. Next. So cows need, why? Because why this is happening to the cow? Because as we saw in 117.3 Srimad Bhagavatam, they are under the care of an uncivilized person. When they are under the care of a civilized person, this will happen. See how happy the mothers and the calves are. In an organic farm, their happy life is also ensured. So they are happy, their protection is ensured when the owner is a civilized person, then only it can happen. Next. The Vedic indicator of prosperity, as we know, Swasti Prajabhya Paripalayanda, Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahisha, Go Brahmanepya Shubhamastu Nityam, Loga Samasta Sugino Bhavantu. This is the Vedic indicator of prosperity. What it means? May there be well-being of all people. All the prajas should be in well-being. And may the kings rule the earth along the right path. Kings should be well guided, and they should be ruling the earth in the right path. May the cattle and the brahmanas have well-being forever. Cow and brahmana, they should be in good condition. And may all the beings in the world become happy. When all this happens, then only we can be happy. We can have a happy life in this world. Peace, peace, and peace be everywhere. So when all this happens, when cows are protected, when Brahmanas are protected, and when the kings are ruling the society in the right way, then only we can, then only there can be peace in the society. Next one, please, Professor. So here we are concluding this talk today, and hope you might have understood the message clearly. And if you have some doubts, you can come up with the questions, please. And thank you very much for patient listening. Thank you.
Yeah, please, I request the participants to raise their hand, and they can proceed with the questions. One question from, the first question goes with, Govardhan Das. Yes, Prabhu, please go on with your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much. It was very informative, today's class again. I have a few questions, about 4 questions. The first one is, the raw milk from the cow, do we need to boil it before drinking? Because in India, the custom is to boil milk before drinking. Whereas you said that especially if you milk the cow, then immediately we must drink it. So what is the...
Yes, well, that question I will answer first, then we can go with the subsequent questions. That
Yes.
as according to Ayurveda, Dharoshna Doodh, that is that warm milk is compared to Amrita, and it can decrease your Vata. And that warm milk, soon after coming from the udder, is the best. And people are, they started boiling the milk. Why? Because they were not able to consume milk as soon as it is coming out of the udder. May not be possible. They will be postponing that. So then to make it warm, they started boiling milk. And also the germ theory that we think that by boiling, we can, the germs are there, so we can make it safe to consume. But actually, by boiling, we are, as far as milk is concerned, no species, no young one. It is meant for, actually, it is in nature, milk is produced for the young one. Which young one is consuming boiled milk? It is young one is growing because of that raw milk only. And raw milk is having alkaline properties which are beneficial for the body, and it is a medicine. It is having medicine like properties in us. But boiled milk is just the opposite. It is acidic. So it will give you the opposite effect, not benefit. It is not beneficial to the body. It will even remove. People are drinking milk for getting calcium, but boiled milk will remove your calcium. Do you know that?
Oh, okay.
It is acidic, and your blood acidity will increase. And to neutralize the acidity, body will have to draw calcium from your teeth and bone. So osteoporosis. Now doctors are, everybody's advice is right. Drink milk, but which milk? Milk, not boiled milk. Milk is different. Boiled milk is different. Two opposite. It is having opposite qualities.
Okay.
We cannot. The proper milk is not comparable with raw milk. So to have it, you should have a cow to get that milk.
Thank you, Mataji. That was nice. And the other question is, if the Prabhu was saying that if you don't milk the cow, then the cow suffers a lot, right?
Yes.
So, but the cow keeps producing milk even after the calf is weaned, right? Then what is the solution for
The
that?
weaning means weaning. Why you are doing weaning? During pregnancy and also subsequent to pregnancy, there is lactation. The mother is losing her resources. From her body, she has produced that calf, and from her body only, she is producing the milk. So the mother is bleeding, means mother is pouring out her body resources for producing the calf and producing milk. So why weaning is done? It is for the health of the mother. So if we continue to take milk even after removing the calf or even after weaning, then what is the purpose of weaning? Weaning is for the health of the mother.
Okay. So we should stop milking the cow once it is weaned.
For that purpose only we are weaning the cow, not for us to take the milk. If we are weaning and taking the milk, there is no point in weaning. Weaning is for the health of the mother, to restore her
health. Because I saw so many videos, they say that even after the calf stops, like the cow keeps on giving milk for so many years and all that. That means they are continuing to milk actually.
That is all wrong information. Weaning, just understand that weaning is not for anything else. It is just to restore the health of the mother.
Yes, Mataji. Correct. The other thing, like the Bhagavatam says, when the cows used to see Krishna, they used to overflow with milk, and the milk used to drip on the earth. Is that possible? I mean, like you're saying that, like Prabhu was saying that if there is too excessive milk in the udder and if it's not milk, then the cow suffers actually. But Bhagavatam says that it drips on the earth, right?
Yes. It is possible. It is very much possible. Milk is the product of love. When the cow or even a human mother, when she thinks about her child, automatically milk will come out. So when the cows were so much loving Krishna so much that the cows were seeing him as a calf. So when out of that love, the milk was flowing out.
Okay. So in that case, the cows don't suffer then if the milk drips out, like.
No. That is not suffering. No, it is out of love. The letting down. Letting down.
Correct. Okay. So it is possible.
It is possible. 100%. It is possible. 100%.
And one last question, Mataji. You were saying that when the cow is in heat, every 21 days, we should not milk it. So how do we know the cow is in heat?
And an intelligent owner will be knowing that. A person who is, there will be signs for heat. The cow, heat signs will be there. That is for 24 hours, the cows will be in heat. Some cows, at that time, they will not allow the owner to milk the cow.
Okay.
So they will kick and all. So at that time, what they will do? For sale purpose, what they will tie the leg and they will put the milk. That is what is done. So only an owner can understand whether the cow is in heat. At that day, the owner, if that owner is not that with that mentality, then he will not milk the cow.
So even the farms which are, selling this A2 milk or all these things, they also don't have all this knowledge actually.
No, never. Why? How can they follow this? That is the dairy is based. There is economics is based on selling of milk now. So they will not be giving calf share. They cannot. They will not.
They cannot.
They cannot.
Correct. Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Thanks a lot.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The next question is from Jyoti Maheshwara Reddy. Yes, Prabhu, please go on. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I have two questions, Prabhuji and Mataji.
Yes.
So the video has played it, and that is some kind of a research they told it in the video.
Ah.
The lady.
Yes,
So
yes.
can I know some details of it? So to
Yes.
read it more about that.
Yes,
So
yes.
this may-
They have done so much research in regarding the allergies, the asthma and other allergies. So many studies showed that these allergies were reduced when means people are thinking that hay is producing the dust from the hay is producing allergy, and the children will have allergies when they are touching the hay or when they are in the farm. But their studies, they understood that children, when they are associating, children and also adults, when they are associating with the cows and when they are in the farm, their allergies and this asthma problems that has been reduced. They have become very resistant to such diseases. Those studies that 20 years of research they have conducted in many people.
Okay, Mataji, they published any paper kind of thing, or just maybe
Yes,
they
yes.
filed?
No, we have yes, they have published. That is what we have taken only a clip. You can go through.
Okay.
If needed, we will give you that.
Yeah, there is
link.
a videos in YouTube.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, Mataji. Yeah,
We can share it later.
Yeah. Prabhuji, my second question, there is a farm in the physically we want to see in the Telangana or something. Can we know the location or some details about it?
Yes, we have our own farm, but it's still we are in the process, to
And not
develop.
right now, in future, if we say like.
Yes, definitely. I will share.
Yeah, thank you.
And in where these principles are maximum, as far as possible, maximum following in one of our farms, that is in Jaipur. Deepti Mother, owner of the farm, she is present in this.
Yes, she
course.
is there. She is in our session today. I
Yes,
think Mataji will
Yeah.
also share about her. Maybe I will request her maybe.
Yeah, Prabhuji,
some other
please
time
share
about
the
her
details
experience.
of it.
Yes,
Yes,
There-
definitely.
Location. Yeah.
There you can see the health of the cows, calves, their social behavior, everything there it is followed well.
Yeah, Mataji, please share the location and details of the farm actually. Yeah.
Sure, it will be
Yeah.
conveyed to you. It
Yeah,
will be
yeah,
conveyed.
thank you, Mataji. Thank you,
Right.
Prabhu.
Thank you. Yeah, the next question is from Arun Singh Rathore, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, please go on with your question.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So this question is regarding, by what age does the calf start to shed the hair? Because when it is born, it is covered with the hair. So by what age a healthy calf should shed completely?
There is nothing like that, Prabhu. What we were explaining here, when it is born, actually by living of the mother, everything, that hair will be standing like that. And as soon as it's it is healthy only when it is delivered. The hair you see when it is delivered is not the sign of ill health, unhealth. So there at any age or when it is an adult also, hairy coat is the sign of malnutrition. There is there will not be any stage where this hairy coat we can recommend. That is any time it is the sign of malnutrition. So when there is as soon as you see the hairy coat, you should understand that it is malnourished.
Okay. So
it is not shedding the hair and becoming smooth. It is not like that.
Okay.
It will be smooth only always. When it is rough or hairy or standing like that, you should understand that some problem is there in the feeding. The calf is not, if it is a calf, it is not getting sufficient its calf share. And if it is an adult also, there is some problem with some health issues or some ration problem, that quantity problem is there. Clear?
All right, all right. Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Sudhir K.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu and Mataji. Thank you for the presentation. Very insightful. I have two questions. So the first one is, in humans, generally, whenever we take food or drink, we take it to our capacity. So I'm relating this example to feeding the calf. Generally, the argument that is made by the persons who are taking care of the cows is that if they let the calf drink, then there won't be sufficient milk for us to milk, for us to take, for humans to consume. So my question is, in order for us to really keep the calf healthy, should we first let it drink until it is full stomach, and then only whatever is left we should be milking? Is that the practice that we should be looking for?
No, no, that was explained in the class. No, humane and ethical milking practice was explained in the class. We should give minimum 12 hours the cow and the calf together. Understood? We should.
Yes. Okay.
We shouldn't decide the stomach full or 1/4 or 2/4 like that. To ensure the calf share, we should allow the cow and the calf together for minimum of 12 hours. Understood?
So does that mean that they should be like the calf should have access to the cow for 12 hours?
Yes, yes. Access to drink, not just together means just seeing and just tying, not like that. The calf should be able to drink as and when it is needed.
Needed. Okay.
And more than this, there is another method which is followed in the West now, Madre method. It is called Madre method. So in that method, the cow and the calf are 24 hours they are together. They are not at all separated. And the owner will be milking the cow 2 times a day. 2 times, morning and evening, a fixed time, the owner will be milking the cow. And the calf is not separated. Calf at foot dairy, that is, that milk is like amrita. That milk you are getting with the calf along with the cow, and the remaining milk the cow willingly giving to you. That milk is called amrita. It is the superior, most superior milk. Understood? Are you hearing? Hare Krishna?
Yes, Mataji, I can hear. Actually, I have a follow-up question. I think that could be connected to this question. So in the presentation, it was mentioned that if I understand it correctly and remember correctly, we should be milking minimum 8 times, something like that. Is said?
Yes. I think Dr. Srikumar Prabhuji has joined. Shall I pass this question to doctor or shall I continue? Dr. Srikumar?
Maybe.
Dr. Srikumar? Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu, I can hear. So my question is,
I heard.
So I want to connect it to this keeping the cow and the calf together for 12 hours and also milking 8 times a day. So how do these, can you help me understand how these both can be possible?
So when the cow and the calf is together, naturally it is drinking more than 8 times. When the cow and the calf is together, the cow gets up and drinks every 2 hours. It is more than 8 times. Milking is drawing the milk from the udder. I didn't say the milker should do. The milk should be drawn from the udder. So by keeping the cow.
Oh, there is echo.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I cannot hear you.
Sri Kumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, I can explain it to you. There is some more problem with Prabhuji.
Yes, please go on, Mataji.
Yeah, we were explaining 8 times milking means we are not going and milking 8 times. When the calf and the cow are together, whenever there is, we mean at the interval of maybe 2 hours, the calf will be going and drinking. So how many times the milk is removed from the cow?
6 times.
6 to 8 times.
Yeah, 12 hours. Yes.
Six times, no? So if it is more than one more time means some more 2 hours means one more time. Like that, if 24 hours, 12 times the calf will be removing, most probably, from the mother.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Or at least that is the milking. We cannot do like that. No, we are just separating the calf. When we are separating the calf, we are just milking 2 times. So that is causing that is the cause for this mastitis, the dreadful disease, no, mastitis.
Okay, now I seem to get the point. So the understanding is that we should not be milking 8 times. Rather, if we keep the cow and the calf together for 12 times, and going by the calculation that the calf takes milk every 2 hours, then that 8 times naturally happens from the side of the calf to the cow. The milking naturally happens.
The most efficient milker is the calf. And in such cases wherever in many farms where this 12 one-time milking, that is 12 hours calf and cow together, mastitis has been disappeared. No more cases of mastitis for us to treat.
So I know the importance should be given to the calf. If the calf gets sufficient milk, then my question is from a human perspective, if we have to milk the cow after the calf is done with its share of milk, then is there like the time of the day also, depending on which the quality of milk is good, like in the morning or evening for human consumption?
Usually what wherever this one-time milking is practiced, the usual practice is like that. Early morning milking, that is before sunrise, that will be the ideal time for us to milk. So if you are milking at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, after milking, the cow and the calf will be together for the next 12 hours. So if you are milking in the morning 5 o'clock, till evening 5 o'clock, the cow and the calf will be together.
Yes.
So after 5 o'clock, if you are generous, you will give some more time to the calf, and then the calf will be separated. During the night time, the cow and the calf will be separated. And the morning, you take the milk. You will milk the cow.
Yes.
And then the rest of the 12 hours of production will be given to the calf. That is the ethical way of milking, and this is the best proved by many of the farms and many farmers.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Quickly, the next question goes. It comes from Samin Mataji. Mataji, Hare Krishna. Please go on with your question.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Well, thank you first for clarifying about this period of milking, because I was also confused about this milking 8 times. And you now said when we can milk. So early morning we milk, and then calf and the cow are together until evening, and then we milk in the evening.
Simple.
That is very clear. Thank you. My other question is that you explained very nicely about how the calf should be fed and what it should be fed and all that. But what is the best food for the cows? How the cows should be fed in order
Grass,
to
grass,
only
grass.
grass.
Then again grass. Again it is grass. Again it is grass.
I live in a country which we don't find a lot of grass. At least
Okay.
where I am. So
Dry grass, green grass. If it is not available, the next option is dry grass. Dry grass. That is also not available. Then we can go for grain powder. But it is actually only a supplement. The herbivores, what it is meant by cow is a herbivore. Herbivore, it puts on weight by the consumption of leaves, green, grass, like that. That is the meaning of herbivore is like that. Its food is, by nature, its food is grass and leaves and all those green things. So we cannot completely replace with some artificial compounded feeds. They need 60%, minimum at least 60% of their ration should be dry or green fodder. Otherwise, they cannot survive.
Right. So 60% green or fresh greens or dried greens.
Yes. 60% is the maximum. It should 40% is the maximum. It is when it is reduced, that portion of forage, when it is reduced, it will affect their digestion because they are ruminants now. They should ruminate. For rumination, they need fiber, which is more than 6 centimeter long. That much long fiber is needed for chewing, rumination. So, and one more thing for your clarification, feeding will be explained tomorrow. So, that will be coming in tomorrow's session.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. The next question from Jagannath Mohan Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for explaining so nicely. My first question was, Mataji, like in the presentation you told that milk of cow within 10 to 21 days of calving we should not consume. But
yes.
In India we hear that the milk which is produced by the cow at the time of the birth of her baby, that contain a high amount of calcium. And it is recommended that usually for the women to take it, because if they have some calcium, a lack of calciums in their body. So I just wanted some.
I'll explain that. That colostrum, its name is colostrum. The soon after the calving, the milk coming, that is the vaccine. Every goodness for the calf is that there. If all the colostrum is taken away from the cow, then how the calf will survive? These are the wrong paradigms we are following. We should never take a drop of that milk. We should not even remove the milk and throw it away. It should be consumed by the calf fully. Then only the calf can be immune to so many conditions throughout its life. And it is rich in calcium, it is rich in proteins, it is rich in antibodies, meant for the calf, not for us. We have taken it When we were born, we have taken already. We don't need that. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji. And the next question was that, like Prabhuji said that if we start from a barren land, like Prabhuji said that we should graze the cow or the bull in a land which is having fresh green grass and all, like which is already flourishing. So in case if we start from a barren land, so how to use, how to work out in that case? Because if somebody is having some barren land and like we have heard that cow dung and cow urine can regenerate that particular land.
So this question we will keep because that topic is going to come. That grazing and how to that is coming up. So we needing the answer. Explain it now.
Okay, Mataji. And the last one was that the session was very nice, and since the past 5 sessions, they were very eye-opening. Like before attending this session, if somebody would have told about the weeds, this type of concept, and like it wasn't, I wasn't able to accept all these things. But so my just query was that can we have some detailed learning regarding in holistic management of
Prabhuji, this our course is not complete. Yet more topics are coming up. So after once we complete the sessions, then we will be explaining for continuous studies. We will be guiding you, and practical also. We will be guiding you after the sessions. We will. So every help will be given to you. Don't worry.
We will
Thank
add
you,
you in our official WhatsApp group, and all the speakers will be in that group, and we will guide you. And also after this session, if the pandemic is over, of course it will over. Once the pandemic over, when I think we will discuss with Dipti Mataji and all, we will plan for the session also, physical session, where practically we can see how the holistic management principles are applied at Jaipur. So there also you can visit and you can attend the course.
We want you to do it, not just for the course.
Yes.
We want you to do.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So the next question from Mallikarjun Kori.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I want to know, Mataji, the microbiome of milk, fresh milk, and then the cow dung. The microbes which are in the cow dung and then the fresh milk, are they different or how much they are? I want to know, Mataji.
Actually, we cannot compare like that. Fresh milk is having essential microbes, and the cow dung is also. Cow dung is having microbes suitable for the land, needed for the land, and this milk is having microbes which are suitable for the rumen of the stomach of the calf, or those who are consuming. Those who are consuming, if human being is consuming, that microbe is supplementing to the microbes in our stomach also. So there will be common microbes, but we cannot quantify or qualify or compare. But all microbes which are present in the soil is also there in our stomach or rumen of the cow. They are all everywhere present. So
okay,
we cannot.
Mataji, okay, some farmers in India, they are applying 2 liters of milk per acre through the drip irrigation, and then they are getting the very good result, and then earthworms. Within 8 days, earthworms are appearing. So that is the reason I wanted to know.
Yes, that because that microbes are there in the milk. That is being acting as a culture to the soil microbes also. So that is good.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the next question is from Raghunandan Prabhu, Raghunandan Das.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you, Mataji, for the wonderful session. And so my questions have been answered, but only just two clarifications I require. So when cow is milking and a calf is taking the milk, so generally what percentage of milk is consumed by calf and what is remain for human beings? If you say a cow is producing 10 liters of milk every day, so what percentage should go to the calf, or will calf take, and what will be remaining for humans?
That question is already explained because the milk is produced for whom? Produced for the calf.
Yes.
So the calf share, what is the calf share? The calf should grow minimum of 1 kg per day. So you should ensure that the calf is growing, whichever calf is you are growing, that calf is gaining 1 kg per day. So by studies shows that this is ensured when the cow and the calf are together for 12 hours. You needn't go for the quantity of milk, how much you should give the calf, how much you should take. You needn't go for this. Is ensured when the cow and the calf are together for 12 hours.
Okay.
And then you should monitor also. Your calf is gaining, that is 30 kg per month. If it is gaining, perfect.
Okay. Okay. My other question is, you said, if we milk it twice a day, like morning and evening. So in the night also, you keep the calf and cow together, or you separate them at night?
In Madre method, I explained the method.
Okay.
In Madre method, the cow is not separated from the calf at any time.
At any time, okay.
Cow and the calf will be together, and the cow will produce more. Cow will keep to give you milk also.
Okay.
That quantity will be means low, but even then the quality will be superior.
Okay. Okay, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, and also if we want our share of milk, then first we need to grow sufficient grass. First we need to create an abundance for the cow first.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So, and the next question is from Sachin Revankar. Hare Krishna.
Namaste, Mataji. Thank you for the wonderful information. Now, with so much of information, now what options we have in cities apart from pasteurized milk, particularly for kids? Because with this information, we don't feel like drinking that pasteurized milk. Now, what options you suggest?
In cities, Prabhuji, there is no option to get this amrita, this raw milk. Either you will have to go to your roads, or you will have to go to villages and keep the cows, and then you should have the plenty of this amrita. Otherwise, instead of that milk, if you are taking something and getting into trouble, is not advisable. That is what we can tell you. In being in cities, it is not possible. How can it be possible? Taking a packet of milk, how can you ensure that calf share is not there, deceased cow's milk is not there, pregnant cow's milk is not there? You cannot ensure. It is all there inside that. And pasteurized also. It will not give you any benefit of this raw milk. Instead, it will harm your health only. That is what I should say.
Okay, Mataji. And the second question, so is there any study done how this pasteurized milk is impacting our health?
Yes, Prabhu. Pasteurized milk versus raw milk. Many studies are there. You please search, Prabhu. It is many studies and explanations are there. You can see.
Okay, Mataji. Dhanyavad.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. The last question is from Agga Vishnu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
There are two questions. Two questions, Mataji. One is the common practice followed for deworming. And the next question is human beings. They consume the milk other than their own breed. We consume milk of cows, and whether it should be or should not be, because in nature no species consume the milks of other species.
Yes, you answered the question very well, no? Second good. First question I will answer. Deworming, actually, we never follow any deworming practice in our cows. And it's wherever we are, whichever farms we are consulting, we never give, when the calf is healthy, it is getting its share, and they are not troubled by worms. If worms are there, they will automatically, they will be expelled. So we don't use any deworming practice in our farms, but we advise the calf share and we ensure that calf is getting sufficient quantity of milk. The second question you yourself answered. In nature, no other species other than human being taking another species milk. That is true. But as we are human beings, we are having some more upper story. So we just by managing our domestic animals, we are taking milk. And actually in olden practice, the cows were so healthy and they were producing excess milk. And that excess milk we were forced to take because it will be harming the cow, excess milk. So now that excess milk is not there because our soil health is so poor that fodder coming out of it is very low in nutrients, that excess milk is not there. When there is excess milk, we were able to take that milk, and that milk was used for pujas, homas, and as a offering, as a prasada, we were also able to consume a part of it. And it was when the cow was grazing and when we were taking that milk, it was giving, it was a good nutrient source for us. But now what is happening, the soil health is so poor that excess milk is not there. So at this stage, we should think twice before taking this milk.
Yes, Mataji, one thing is regarding grasses, whether it should be a combination of pulses, cereals, and all that. And that will be dealt tomorrow.
Diverse, yes, it will be dealt. Diverse fodder. It should be tomorrow. It will be dealt in the feeding.
Yes.
Namaste.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you very much. So this is all for today. And tomorrow we will come up with another interesting topic that will be Dr. Sri Kumar Prabhu and Sri Kala Mataji tomorrow. So we will end up this session now because now it's already 9:22 p.m. Thank you very much for attending. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Jai Shri
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you very much.
Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.